All right, welcome back to OllieGolf.com.
All right.
Welcome back to OllieGolf.com. I'm your host, David Igono, and this is going to be a different type of show. I want to talk about confidence, and I want to go a little bit deeper. Our guest, Larry Penley, was on earlier this year, and one of the best parts of the interview for me was just digging into swagger, confidence. Is it bad? Is it good? Like, what does it feel like? And I want to go a little bit deeper there. Larry, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, David. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So let's set the stage a little bit before we get back into the conversation. So in golf, or anything for that matter, what does confidence mean? Like, what's the difference between confidence and ability, in your opinion?
Well, strictly from a golf standpoint, and I guess it could relate into other areas as well, but confidence to me is knowing what you do, practicing what you do, just knowing what you do, fundamentally, physically, mentally, knowing what you can do and do it the very best you can. And that really, to me, translates into performance and into your best performance. You don't have to have the best golf swing. You don't have to have the best fundamentals. You don't have to have the best techniques. But if you know what you can do and do it well, you have a chance. And the reason you really have a chance is because you're confident.
Mm-hmm.
I see that in my players all the time, and we constantly work on fundamentals. We're constantly on the track, man, trying to get our numbers better. But if you know what you can do and you know what your tendencies are, and you're able to translate that into competition or transform that into competition and do what you do well, you're going to be confident and you're going to give yourself a fighting chance. And it's a fine line. I mean, some kids battle with it. I mean, they really struggle with it. They want to allow themselves to know that what they do is good enough. Those are guys that never seem to perform to their ability. On the other hand, guys that can take what they have, whether it's textbook fundamentals or not, but they're able to believe in what they do. They believe that it's good enough, and they believe they can compete. They've given themselves a chance, and that's kind of where we try to get our players mentally.
So I think that's an awesome baseline definition on knowing your ability, practicing and preparing in that ability, and believing in it. It doesn't matter how technically or fundamentally sound you are if you have no confidence, no belief in your ability to make a shot, to make a putt. That being said, let's talk about golf. Golf is a cauldron of pressure. And I say that, and a lot of people who aren't into golf or, don't see the competitive side of it as much. We're like, well, it's just making shots here and there. Well, it's making shots here and there and competing against your mind, your perspective of yourself. And the unique thing about golf is, 95 to 90% failure rate? I mean, the top guys on tour don't win every weekend. They don't place first every weekend. So how do you build confidence if being good at golf, showing up, winning, competing, isn't necessarily always about, finishing first on the podium?
Yeah, golf is kind of cruel in that respect. I mean, you'll have a PGA Tour field of 144 players or 154 players in some events, and only one guy goes home with the trophy. And college tournaments are the same way. We'll have anywhere from 15 to 21 teams, which is anywhere from 75 to 95 or even 100 players. And there again, only one team wins and only one individual goes home with the trophy. One thing I try to do with my players, and it seems to help, is you have to play your game. You can't play somebody else's game. And my goal for every one of our players in every tournament we play in, never hit a shot you don't think you can hit. Now, I know that sounds simple, and I know that sounds very, very trite, but if you can go through a round of golf and you know that every shot you're trying to hit, you can hit it, and you've got to be smart enough to distinguish between the two. You don't need a bunch of false confidence and try to do stuff you can't do. But if you can be true to yourself and you can be honest with yourself and you can go ahead and try to commit to hitting every shot you possibly can to the very best of your ability and never hit a shot you can't hit, you're going to be very successful. It might be laying up at times. It might be playing away from flags at times. It might be a little more of a conservative game plan than a lot of my 18 to 21-year-olds give in to try to do. But, if you go out there and hit every shot that you know you can hit, you're going to play well. You're not going to pull them off. You're going to make bad swings. You're going to pick the wrong club. You're going to misjudge wind. All that's, dealing with adversity, and you've got to be able to handle that mentally. But if you can go out there and every shot you hit, in your heart of hearts, I've got this, confidence level really starts to build because you start pulling off shots you see. And then we start seeing better scores, and then you put yourself in position to win. And if you do that, you're putting our team in position to win. So all that kind of goes hand in hand. But it's really got to boil down to hitting shots you can hit. And it's there again, as simple as that sounds, it is vital for success in golf.
Well, I've heard it said that the simple things are the keys. And, let's break that down even further. So how do you walk through, say I'm that freshman who is, I had my option to come to Clemson or other schools, but I'm not the greatest, but I'm also not average by any means. How do you walk me through this mindset of taking shots you can make? You just talked about being 18 to 21 years old. Let's all be honest. If you're an 18 to 21-year-old guy, you are Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Captain Planet, all that combined. Nobody can tell you what you can or can't do for the most part. So how do you walk me through? How do you build that composure into me as far as, hey, what shot are you going to take right now? What shot do you 100% feel that you can make right now? How do you walk me through that?
Well, you kind of have to look back on your past successes and past failures. If you're continually trying to hit a shot that hasn't panned out for you in the past, maybe we need to be truthful to ourselves and realize this might not be the right approach. There's other ways to get this done. One of the biggest reasons that we practice as much as we do and work on fundamentals as much as we do, and it's adding arrows into our quill. We're really trying to constantly give our players as much ammunition as they can to go out on that golf course and be successful. That's why we practice. Most of the time we're really working on weaknesses. But when you get into competition, and if you're not 100% confident in the shot you're about to pull off, you need to go ahead and find the shot that you are confident you can pull off. My greatest explanation of this or example of this is Jack Nicklaus. He didn't win all those U.S. Opens and all those majors by fluke. He continually put himself in position to win. And he'd be the first one to tell you, if I didn't think, if driver didn't feel good, I'd back down to the 3-iron or the 3-wood. If the 3-wood didn't feel good, I'd go to the 1-iron. If the 1-iron didn't feel good, I'd go to the 2-iron. I'd go through my whole bag, and I heard him say this on the Golf Channel. He said, I've gone all the way down to a 4-iron before I absolutely knew I could hit that ball in the fairway, and that's where I hit it. And here's one of the greatest, if not the greatest player of all time, given a great example of hitting shots you can hit. And he went through the gauntlet until he found one he could play with. And, that's a tough lesson for our players, man. They work so hard. They do a great job with fundamentals, and the resources that we have with cameras and video and TrackMan and all these eyes and all these teachers that they have, you know, all that's great. But if you can't take that on the golf course when it means the most, which is usually the back nine, the last day of a golf tournament, and can pull shots off that you know you can hit, then all of it's for naught, you know. And you, there again, you have to be true to yourself and then just find a way to get it done with shots you know you can hit. So that's really what we try to do with our players. We don't try to discourage them, and you know, and it is a fine line. You know, let's say you've got that racehorse that can go out and dominate a tournament, dominate a field. You know, the last thing you want to do is break his spirit. You know, you want him firing on all cylinders. But there again, you know, be true, and then be confident, and then go ahead. Trust what you do. So it is a fine line. I mean, and it really is, and it's something that the great players really grasp and are really good at, and it really shows in wins.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of when people talk about, you know, the favorite. Well, forget about people. I'll talk about myself. You know, when I'm Googling productivity apps, it's like I'm just essentially doing a lot of nothing. At the end of the day, when you're, like you said, in competition, when you need to make a putt, okay, when you need to, at work, when you need to beat a deadline, or you need to come up with a product, you need to come up with an initiative, whatever it may be, you don't use a productivity app, or you don't use tools per se to accomplish, you know, the deed. You have a belief in what you need to get done, and you do it. You know, it's not sexy. You're not going to hear about. I wait for the day when I hear a golfer, or anybody for that matter, say, it was getting down to crunch time, and I just whipped out my iPhone, and I just, you know, I read a quote, or I read an app. I plugged in my situation into an app, and it carried me through. I don't think that will ever happen, but, you know, it has to be already in your golf bag. It has to be already in your repertoire to know that, hey, you know what, I can make that shot, or I can write that paper. I can, you know, close this business deal.
Oh, I totally agree. I got to witness it firsthand last week. We had a great tournament in Puerto Rico. We play at Rio Mar, which is about 25 miles east of San Juan. It's a Western resort, great golf course. You know, our weather here this spring has been somewhat iffy at best. We've done a lot of indoor practicing. We haven't been on the golf course as much as we usually are this time of year. But I really felt like our team was ready, and mentally they were ready. And we went down there to compete, and we ended up, long story short, we ended up shooting 17 under par, which I thought was really good. We finished fourth in a very good field. Alabama shoots 45 under. Well, they've had the same weather we've had. Now, they are the best team in the country. But you could see the confidence level in their players. They knew they were going to be in position to win strictly because of their talent, and that they were going to win. And you just see it. You know, you really just feel it. Georgia Tech made an incredible run the last day. Georgia Tech had a player shoot 78, 73, 62. Now, what do you think? What was the difference between the 78 and the 62? You know, I mean, my heavens, it had to be confidence. You know, I mean, it just all had to be confidence. That, and he got tired of that golf course beating his fanny when everybody in the field shooting under par, and he just went out there and hit shots he knew he could hit, and it was good enough. We had a sophomore, Miller Capps, shot 12 under for the week and tied Robbie Shelton, who arguably is the best player in the country right now, who's a freshman at Alabama, tied him for co-medalist. Now, Miller had never really been in the hunt in any college tournament in a year and a half. He played every tournament last year as a true freshman, played every tournament this past fall, and is one of our best players. Great striker. struggles with the putter, but for whatever reason, the green speeds were comfortable. He saw good lines. He was committed to everything that he did, and he shoots 12 under par and is co-medalist. You know, all that was confidence. His game didn't change. He didn't do anything different. It didn't like during the practice round we found a swing key or none of that. None of that. He was ready to play when he got there, and he had the ability to go ahead and allow himself to play great, hit shots he knew he could hit, and trust what he saw on the greens. And it led to a victory, you know. It happens every week, and it is the success story every week. You know, even in college golf, and college golf, believe me, is not much different from the PGA Tour. There are multiple guys that could win every week, excluding Alabama's team, and they do have hands down the best golf team in the country. They are the defending NCAA champions, and they're, you know, they've got 4 tour players starting in their top 5 right now. Really, regardless of them or them aside, anytime we go to a college tournament, there's probably anywhere from 6 to 10 teams that can possibly win. You know, and it's really who's at their best that week, who's confident that week, who really is confident with green speeds and putts the best, and strictly guys that continue to hit shots they know they can hit, and that's what we see every week. So it's kind of fun because I really like watching all that, and I kind of put a barometer on my team. I'd be stupid to expect that, you know, we're going to go out and shoot 17 under every week. There are a lot of golf courses we can, and starting two true freshmen and 3 sophomores, I know we're going to have growing pains, but I'm really judging our success rate right now by how many times we can commit, how many times we can be confident, how many times we can stay in the present tense and take it one shot at a time, and how many times we can hit each shot to the very best of our ability, knowing that we can pull those shots off. If we do that, we're good enough to where we're going to win some golf tournaments. You know, so that's really kind of what we're working on right now with our guys. And there again, I see it every week. You know, it's just not my team; it's everybody's team. But it's a fun process, and it is a process. You know, once you start getting, you know, outcome consumed or outcome oriented, you really lose a lot of, you know, of your in the moment focus, which has got to be one shot at a time. Picking that one shot you know you can hit at the present moment. Leave outcome alone. And I tell my guys all the time, let me worry about the outcome. I'll worry about outcome. You know, I'll worry about whether or not we win or lose. I don't, you know, I can handle it. I want you guys going through your process. I want you doing what you do best. And let's just see where the chips fall. So that's kind of where we are.
Yeah, I mean, two key things there. Staying in the present. I think it's hard. It's so hard for us. We always see where we could be or where we want to be, maybe more so than where we could be. And we just put all our mental eggs, phrase of the day is mental eggs. We put all of our mental eggs in the basket of where we want to be, when all of our mental eggs should be in, how do I make this shot? What is my best shot I can make right now? So, I mean, that's huge. It doesn't matter what you're doing, but especially in competition, in business, in life. How can you stay in the present? The second part of what you just said is awesome in the sense that I had a conversation with an athlete earlier this week. They're a college track athlete, and you know they didn't get to. They went to the conference championship, and the coach brought the athlete along, but the athlete ended up not competing in one of the individual events, and they were kind of mad that the coach didn't let him play. I know for college golf, it's somewhat the same in a sense where you only got 5 guys each tournament. So leading up into the week, you know, you have to perform. And what I was trying to share with the athlete is that, like, look, one of the pet peeves from that athlete was that, you know, they brought me along, but I didn't get to compete on game day. You know, I wish I wish I wouldn't have gone, or I wish I would have been told that I wasn't going to compete. And I was like, well, you can't look at it like that. As a coach, your coach's main objective is to put the team in a position to win. Your individual ability, he has to make sure that your mind is at a place to where you can perform at your peak capability. He can't tell you 4 hours the night before, hey, you might not play today. He can't tell you that. He can't. He has to treat you like you are the racehorse and you are going to compete. It doesn't seem fair, but at the same time, in the context of a team, in the context of the main objective, why are you going to Puerto Rico? Why are you going to conference championship? To win. I hope you're not going there just to be there. So it's being in the present and then putting yourself in a position to not worry about the outcome, just worry about your peak capability is immense.
I totally agree, and I've actually got some guys kind of going through that right now. We're right in the middle of a qualifying. We leave Saturday morning for a really good golf tournament hosted by USC Aiken, who has been a dominating Division II power probably for 15 years. Mike Carlisle is the coach there. He won back-to-back NCAA Division II golf championships, has a tremendous program, and they run an 18-team tournament at the Palmetto Club down in Aiken, which is one of the best golf courses in the state of South Carolina. It's an old throwback Alistair McKenzie-type golf course. Doesn't beat you up with a lot of length, but you totally have to be in control of your golf ball, and you totally have to know what you're doing. The tournament itself is a great lesson for my team, but we're going through a qualifying right now for one spot. I exempted 4 players. I've got 6 guys right now trying to capture the last top 5 spots. And in the first round of qualifying yesterday, I already had players take themselves out mentally. And it strictly was because they're looking at outcome. They're thinking about, I have got to play in this tournament this weekend, or coach might not ever give me another chance. And they have loaded themselves up with outcome to the fact that they've totally taken themselves out of the game mentally. They can't simplify it. It's another round of golf. I'm going to play my best one shot at a time. I'm going to hit shots I know I can hit. And then let's just let the chips fall. We had 3 guys break par, which was actually pretty good. 3 guys shot 74, 75, 77, and for the most part, they're probably out of it. But that was a mental decision they made, and hopefully it will be a lesson learned. It's not that they're bad players. It's not that they haven't been working hard. They have been doing everything under the shining sun, to create an opportunity to get into our top 5. Mentally, they haven't quite got it yet. So today's our last round of qualifying. There again, we've got 3 guys within 2 shots. So it's really going to be interesting for me to see who mentally can handle today. Who can go out there and allow themselves the opportunity to play great. And you do that one shot at a time, and you do it by hitting shots you know you can hit. And it'll be fun for me to watch it. There again, it's a freshman who is our state AM champ and is a great player, and 2 other sophomores, and both of them have been in our lineup and have been starters. So we'll see who's learning those lessons today, because all of them are capable of playing great. It's just whichever ones will allow themselves to do it.
Yeah. So, just to recap, we've talked about knowing your ability and having confidence in your ability, believing. Confidence really should just be utmost belief in your ability, and then preparing for it, practicing for it. We've talked about how you got to stay within yourself. You got to take shots that you know you can make. You will have. I would like to say, coming from a football background, I would like to say that there might be 80 plays on offense, I would say there's about 70 plays on offense in any given college football or NFL game. There's really only about 3 or 4 plays that make the difference. Barring, a a game where it's like 57 to 40 or whatever crazy scoring output game. There's really only about a handful of plays that decide the game. Now, those plays that decide the game, they're set up by staying within your offense, staying within your defense. I would imagine it's very similar in golf. You have to stay within yourself to the point where you have an opportunity to make a play, and maybe you haven't. Let's be honest. Maybe you haven't made a shot in a while, but you know for a fact that you're hot, and you know that you're capable, and you know that worst case scenario, you have the iron or the wood that you know that you can make the shot with. What would be your outlook as far as what would be your advice to that player where it's like, hey, I haven't made this shot and practiced all week, but I know I can get it.
Well, you've hit on a great point, David, and I call these there is anywhere from 3 to 5 shots around that we call the MOTs, and it's the moment of truth. We all have stock shots. We all have, certain shots on the golf course that really look good to our eye that we'll execute 99 out of 100 times. But you'll end up with that side hill 6-footer. It might be for a birdie. It might be for a par. It might be for a bogey. It might be for whatever. But you've got momentum shots. You've got MOTs. You've got moment of truth that you need to make. You really need to make. And if you don't pull those shots off, you'll turn a great round into an okay round, or an okay round into a poor round. There's between 3 to 5 of these around that the guys who play great and the guys who win and put themselves in position to win, they're pulling off these MOT shots. They're making these shots, and how they're doing it is really sticking into the present tense. There again, they don't care if that 6-footer is for a 2 or for a 10. They know that their best chance of pulling this shot off is stick with a routine, trust what I see, execute to the very best of my ability, and let that be it. The great ones pull it off. How many times have we seen Tiger in his prime? Every time he had to make a putt, every time he got to an MOT situation, he pulled it off. He pulled it off. He can't do that now. He's really not doing that now. I don't know if it's a physical deal or, to me, I think it's more mental. I really think he's lost a big mental edge, in the last 3 to 4 years. But we really try to teach our guys, embrace the moment of truth. It's coming. It's coming. And, it might be a situation where you've made a bunch of solid pars and all of a sudden you take this 6-iron and you knock it in here about 4 feet. You need to convert. You really need to go ahead and get this thing going. And it's exciting for me to see it. And I know the players feel it. And the great ones pull it off. The great ones respond to the moment of truth, and they're confident in their abilities. They stay in the present tense. They stick with their routines, and they make it happen. And that's the difference, really, in winning and losing.
That's awesome. Now, the last question I have for you, it's pretty straightforward. Now, didn't really get into it at the top of the conversation, but you know what success is. In your 30-plus years at Clemson, you won pretty much everything. As a player, as a coach, as a program, you've seen success in different players that you brought through your program. Let's be honest and let's have that one solid takeaway. If I am, and most people won't admit to it, but let's be honest, for the most part, we're not special. We're all average. We're a part of the field. For a set of time, Tiger Woods was that special snowflake. Now he's more so, dare I say it, I'll be the bad guy, part of the field. I agree with you. It's mental. It's definitely mental. How do we start from scratch, in a sense, and say, okay, this is where I am. I've been struggling. So what? Screw it. I need to work on, I need to tighten up my short game, or whatever it may be. What is the one initial thought that they should be thinking about as they deconstruct their confidence? Because confidence is key. I mean, you're not going to find the cure for cancer or anything if you don't believe you can. You're not. I mean, the chances are against you, okay? So when we're talking about something like golf or business or a career where it might be a 20 or 30 or a lifetime of obstacles and adversity, you have to want to get better at it. You have to want to, struggle for a certain amount of time. What's that one thought in my mind that I should be focusing on? What's that one thing I should focus on as I say, hey, I got to build my confidence up. I need to embrace this moment of truth that is obviously coming.
Well, I mean, you really have to be true to yourself. You really have to understand your limitations and your expectations. And if you do have the ability, and if you believe that in your heart of hearts, and you really can't understand why it's not happening, you need to go back and reevaluate your plan. Not that I'm usually a big guy for change, because I really do believe within each of us, in each one of my players, there is greatness, or I wouldn't have them here. And I want them to believe in what they do, and let's perfect that. Let's make that the best it can be. But that aside, if it's not working, go ahead and reevaluate your plan. The old saying, if you want what you've always got, do what you've always done. Well, don't be afraid to go ahead and rechange your process. Let's rewire our plan. Let's find something that does work. Maybe I'm hitting too many balls. Maybe I need to be on the golf course more. Maybe I need to use my creativity and my imagination more. Maybe I'm way too technical. You need to be really honest with yourself and really figure out, what's keeping me from shooting good scores? What's keeping me from contending to win week after week when I know I can? There has to be something there. Most of it, I'm gonna, you can go ahead and say it's about 99% mental with this. I mean, it's, you really have to understand your game, understand what you do, and really try to understand what's going to take your game to the next level. It might be, I'm not going to practice for a week. I'm going to go play golf. I'm going to get out on the golf course, and I'm going to really try to simulate, put myself in competitive situations that I've failed in recently. I'm going to try to create in my mind every possible scenario I can. And we do this a lot with our players. You can't have enough hard-focused game preparation practice. That's kind of hard to do in golf. But I'm going to tell you, the guys that are successful with it, that excel and pull off those MOT shots, they practice it. It is not a mistake. They've put themselves in that situation so many times on the range or on the golf course in practice that when they get to it, I mean, it's just another thing. I mean, it's just another golf shot I need to pull off. I do know that the week before the ACC championship, and we're working on some of this stuff now with the other four guys, they've all played the Palmetto Club in Aiken. So my job, I'll leave the qualifiers alone today. I'll let them go do their deal. I'm going to take the other four guys, and when we're out on the golf course today, we're going to try to simulate shots that we're going to have at the Palmetto Club. We're going to try to see, all right, this is a shot for number 12. You're tied for the lead going into the last round. You've got 158 yards into this tucked right hole location. What are you going to do? And, man, you see hard focus turn up. You see adrenaline turn up. You really have to try to simulate that as much as you possibly can for these kids and let them get a taste of it. And you'll be surprised, man. If you keep putting them in that situation enough, when they get into a real life situation or a real tournament situation, they'll shine and they'll be their best. But you really have to be honest with yourself. You really have to understand, am I getting the most out of my game? If not, why? And let's try to figure out a way where we can make ourselves the best.
I mean, that's over preparation. And I just wrote down over preparation as a secret sauce to success, because, I mean, how are you going, like, in the heat of battle in any competition in life, in business, and in school and whatever, you can't prepare for everything, but you can prepare for your response to everything. You always want to respond. You don't want to react. Reaction is more so a defensive measure that we are instinctually, I was just going to say, like, it's built into us. A response is a strategized, okay, this happened, we're doing this, or, okay, I hit it into the water, this is what I'm going to do. A response is more so proactive in the sense that you've already planned for that failure, and now you have a shot, you have a strategy in your repertoire, and quivers in your bow, or arrows in your quiver, sorry, that you can use. Ahead of myself there.
Oh, I agree, and it's there again. It's something that it's new for these kids. I mean, it's probably one of the funnest coaching aspects of golf. I mean, you can teach a monkey to hit a golf ball. Seriously, I mean, everybody can set up to it like Tiger Woods. Not everybody can swing at it like Tiger Woods, but everybody can set up to it like Tiger. You can mimic as much of those professionals as you possibly can, and believe me, they all have goals and dreams of playing professional golf. And if they don't, I certainly wouldn't have them in our program. And I think there's probably 50 college programs in the country that can say the same thing. But it's how you respond to adversity. Now, what am I going to do next? What is my plan? Have I prepared for this? Am I ready for this? Well, yes, I am. This is the MOT for me. Let's get it done. And those really are the kids that win.
That's awesome. Well, that's to me, that's the perfect ending point. That just puts a cap on a snapshot, if you will, of the mental necessity of being confident, which therein lies being successful. If you're not successful, I have not met any person, I'm talking from a stay-at-home mom to an NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA Tour athlete that is successful that does not have belief in themselves. Like, it's impossible. I just don't think it's possible. I may be wrong, but I don't think that you can be confident in what you need to do and your goals and aspirations, whether it's for your kids or it's for a new business venture or it's for your career or, to win a tournament or to win a championship. If you don't have confidence in your abilities, you can't. I mean, you're not even treading water, You're face down in it pretty much, You're just picking when to breathe, So this has been a great conversation. I mean, I want to say we have to do it again, but we have to talk about something different. But confidence is something that is just it's so simple, but I think we make it so complicated.
Well, you're right, and it applies to everything we do. Whether it's our kids' academics, whether it's their social life, whether it's dealing with me on the golf course, it all boils down to, do I deserve to be successful? Am I doing everything I possibly can do to be the best I can possibly be? And if the answer to that is yes, then the only thing left to do is just let it happen. I'm blessed to be able to be here for them, and to help guide them through these deals and make sure that they are doing everything they can do and that they do deserve to be successful. But until they believe it in their heart of hearts it probably won't happen. And basically, if they don't believe it, there is doubt there somewhere. So we, as a coach, I'm really trying to do everything I can do to eliminate doubt. One of the great examples is when I'm sure you saw the movie Hoosiers, and all-time favorite movie of mine. And when Gene Hackman is called that timeout, and he's looking over at Jimmy, and it's after Jimmy makes this shot. He hasn't taken it yet, but it's, after Jimmy makes this shot, make sure you get back on defense. That there will be just enough time for them to throw a Hail Mary down the court and possibly score. And what happens? Jimmy goes out there and nails the shot, and ball game over, and they win. So it's, I love that scenario, because he's not talking about misses and let's get rebounds and this. It's it's after Jimmy makes that shot. So it's it's a cool thing to see in these kids, and it's great to see them grow. And it's so fun to watch their confidence levels. It's all about building levels. You got to crawl before you can walk. You got to walk before you can run. Confidence levels are no different. You've got to build it in stages.
I agree. I mean, it sounds so straightforward, but it's like, okay, name one other person who is doing that in their career, and it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, it is.
You don't see it. You don't see constant examples of it.
Well, watching LeBron shoot them threes the other night, what, he hit 8 in a row?
Yeah.
I heard his post-game interview. He said when he let that first one go at about 30 feet, and all he saw was the heart of the rim and how big the heart of the rim looked, he knew it was his night. What did he do? He went out there and scored 31, hit 8 threes in a row. Scored 61 and hit 8 threes in a row, and it's just a confidence and feel. But there again, he put in the time. He's one of the hardest workers in the NBA. He knew that at any given moment, a night like that could happen. But you've got to be ready to go ahead and let that night happen when the opportunity presents itself. And, it's fun to work towards. I mean, it really is fun to work towards. And that's one of the coolest parts about golf, because it changes so much from day to day. Your feel changes. There's some days, I'll go out and play, and I'm going, my hands don't feel quite right on the golf course today, or whatever. You've got to battle through that. You've got to hit shots you can hit with what you have that day. And then try to put yourself in position to be successful. That's all we can do.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that's well said. Well said. Well, Coach, I truly appreciate you taking time out to talk about confidence. This is, I want to say this is a benchmark conversation, because it's like, from once you have confidence, all the other things sort of fall into their place, and they're easily attainable. Well, not easily, but they're attainable. Just by building your confidence is attainable. So, I mean, I truly want things to just opening up and sharing just the process, because we always want to supersize everything and make it instant in our culture, but it's a process, and there's pain involved, and you got to overcome it.
Well, you're right, and we have to keep responding to those obstacles. We have to keep responding to all the naysayers and all the negative thoughts that continue to creep into our minds, and all the adversity that golf creates. Battle through it. Just battle through it. Be confident in what you do. Be confident in your plan. Be confident in your work habits, and just make it to where you deserve to play well, and you will.
Yeah, and I 100% agree. 100% agree. Well, Coach, this has been a great conversation. We have to do it again.
You got it. You got it. I love talking about it myself. It gets me fired up.
Same here. Well, thank you for coming on to the show again, and thank you for everybody else for being a part of it.
Well, you got it, David. Anytime, buddy.